Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to go through the WinHide WinShow and WinMove commands within AutoHotkey to manipulate your windows. So if you're interested in this topic, please continue watching. Welcome back, let's get started. And we'll get started with WinHide command. And WinHide command hides windows from your screen as well as your taskbar. And so let me just go ahead and hide this folder that I've got, temporary scripts folder. And if I go ahead and run it, then it's going to be hidden. Now before I do that, I'll just bring over my taskbar and see how there's this folder open, the temporary scripts folder opens. If I go ahead and run it, then it's going to hide that from my view as well as from the taskbar. And so if you use the WinShow command, then you can bring it back up. WinShow command does not require detect hidden windows to be switched on. Doesn't really matter for WinShow, and so that's how I use the window WinHide and WinShow. And the way you can use this as an example is to create a hotkey to toggle on and off your WinHide and WinShow command. So what I'm going to do is I'll just create a variable called handle to window and just initiate that, and then create a variable called toggle and switch it to on for now. And I'll use those to toggle on and off the WinHide and WinShow to hide this folder or to show this folder according to the state of my toggle. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to check whether HWND is blank or not. If it is blank, then I'm going to fill that up with winget command with the ID of the active window. And just to confirm that it's done, I'm just going to use splash text on, and maybe I can set the width to 140, and title is going to be target window set, and just leave it there. I'll leave it on for 1 second and then go splash text off. Alright, and put a return here. So the first time when I run the hotkey, it's going to register the window that I'm going to toggle on and off to hide it and show it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an if toggle is on, then I'm going to WinHide AutoHotkey ID HWND, and that's going to be the active windows handle to window, and switch toggle to back off. Else, or show it AutoHotkey ID HWND, and also going to activate it. And that's because, say for example, if this window is not always on top, if I make it not always on top, if I click elsewhere and if I show the window, it doesn't mean that it's going to be showing on top of all the other windows. So I'm going to WinActivate it so it shows up on top of my window. WinActivate AutoHotkey ID, and then switch the toggle back to on. And just so I know that it's switched on, I'll create a tooltip and call it toggle. And then instead of waiting for maybe a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer, tooltip off, for a second, and I'll make this label tooltip off to turn the tooltip off in a second. And then I'll set the timer off, tooltip off to off. There you go. And so let me go ahead and run the script and press numpad 0 to register the folder as my window, so you get the splash text. And then if I go numpad 0 again, right now the toggle is on, and therefore it's going to go into the this part of the script and hide the window. So like that. Press it again, then it's going to show up, and you see a little tooltip on the around where the mouse cursor is as well, on off. So that's how you can use this WinHide WinShow to toggle on and off a certain window. Now if I clicked away while the window is supposed to be showing, then it looks as though it's not showing on my screen. So what I'm also going to do, because right now if I do numpad 0, then it's going to go off, but it was still already off. According to what I see just on the surface level, it was there, but I just didn't see it. And therefore, even when I don't see it, when I press the hotkey, if the toggle is on, then it's going to hide it. And if only when I press it again, it's going to show up on top of my window, because there's a WinActivate command. And so what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make sure that the active window is not this one, and if it is not, then I'm not going to switch it off. I'm going to go straight into this. So what I mean by that is, if my active window is Visual Studio Code, and I can check that by using winget command as well. I'll put that HWND of the current window, the active window Visual Studio Code, into this variable. Right? I will compare this with the selected window here, and so only when my current HWND equals the HWND, which is my folder's unique ID, then I will hide it. Else I will just show it and activate it. So it could be already shown. There's no harm in showing it again, and therefore with this updated script, when I have, say for example, right now I've got it showing up on my screen. If I press numpad 0, it will register the window, and then press 0 again, then it's going to hide it, and then show it, hide and show it. But if I click elsewhere, then it's going to look as if it's not showing, it's hidden. And so at this point, if I press it again, it's not going to hide it again, but it's going to show up the window like that. And you saw the tooltip being on as well. If I press it again, it hides it. If I click elsewhere and press numpad 0 again, then it's going to show that, and so on and so forth. So this is how you can use this WinHide and WinShow command in order to hide and show windows. And let's move on to WinMove. WinMove has this kind of syntax, and WinMove basically moves a window. So let me bring up a notepad window and move this window by typing out WinMove untitled -notepad. Let's say I want to move it to an X coordinate of X, so it will start from the left hand side, so we'll move 400 pixels to the right, Y of 600 perhaps, and so it's going to be from the top left hand corner 400 pixels to the right and 600 pixels to the bottom. And then width is, if you don't put anything in here, then that's simply just going to move that window, and if I run it, then it just moves that. You can also provide the width and the height, optional parameters, which are going to resize the window. So this time it's going to shrink it down to a width of 200 pixels and a height of 300 pixels. So if you don't want to move the window, then just simply leave these out and increase this or whatever, increase the width or height, and that's gonna just increase the size of the window. And in doing so, you can perhaps also create a numpad or any other hotkey to get the winget pulse of the active window. So I'm going to put active window here, and in the other ones, let me just use X, Y, and width as W and height as H. So these variables are the variables I'm going to store the values of the X coordinate, Y coordinate, W, width, H, height of the active window upon running the hotkey. And let's say I just want to create a hotkey for whatever reason that will increase the width of my, how many commas do I need? Win title, win text, X, Y, width, maybe increase the width of my window by 20%, like that. For whatever reason, it can be something else. But if you run the hotkey when you have a script like this, this is going to increase the width of my window every time I press the hotkey. Obviously, you can use a lot of ifs and etc. to make it more conditional than just increasing it by 20%. And so you can also, so for example, use a loop. I'm going to use a loop, and I'll set the win delay to -1 because I'm going to do a lot of loop, and set W to 10, H to 10. So these are width and height of where I'm going to start the width size of the window from. I'll do maybe a loop of 20, and then go WinMove, untitled notepad, win text, and X is, I'll just put it to 200 and 200 Y coordinate, and then I'm going to set the width of the window to W, so that's going to be 10 pixels wide, and height is also 10 pixels tall. And within each iteration of the loop, I'm going to increase the size of the window by 10 pixels, give it a sleep of 100 milliseconds, and instead of using this, I'll use this one without any frames. And so if I go ahead and run the script, then it's going to move the window to somewhere like around here, and then increase the size bit by bit like that for a 20 times like that. Actually, I can just make this go a little bit bigger by increasing the size every time I run the script. I run the iteration of the loop. Actually, I haven't got the notepad open, so I'm gonna go ahead and run this. Then you can see how it enlarges each iteration of the loop, and so that's how you can use the loop. And if you say, for example, you want to step the windows to the left or the right like that, you can obviously use the window key and the left your left arrow key or the right arrow key. But you can also use, say for example, numpad 1 hotkey to WinMove it, active window to the top left hand corner of the screen. So that's going to be X coordinate of 0, Y coordinate of 0, and width and height you can put a formula in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this screen width, so my screen width from the left hand corner to the right hand corner, the length of that, and that distance is the screen width, so that's going to be stored into my AutoHotkey variable called screen width, and divided by 2. So that's going to be half of the width of my screen. And a screen height is going to be the screen height of my screen, and therefore that's going to take up the entire height. So that's going to be something very similar to this when I run it. All right, so I think, yeah, so that's good enough. And I'm going to create another hotkey called numpad 2, and this time I'm going to have it snap to the right, and therefore I'm going to move this one into the X coordinate so that it starts from somewhere in the middle. Y is going to be the same because I want it starting from 0, so from the very top of the screen. And my width is going to be the same. The screen height is also going to be the same. So if we go ahead and run this, let me bring up my folder and then go numpad 1. Then it's going to be snapped to the left. There is a bit of a padding. This is a Windows 10 thing. So you can see how there's a bit of a space on the left that is not filled, and in order to handle that, you might want to go negative, I think it's something like -7, and then you're going to be able to see the window filling up that little gap here. So you can see that you might have to extend this out by 7 pixels as well, so you're going to have to do some adjustment. But obviously it doesn't restore that window back to your original size, unlike the snapping the window to the left or the right using the Win key. And numpad 2 is going to snap this to the left, so to the right. And so we've got a notepad, and you can use hotkeys to snap windows to the left or the right, and also you can adjust the. So you might want, if you have a taskbar like that, it extends beyond the taskbar, you might want to minus it by maybe something like 20 pixels so you don't take up the taskbar and etc. But that's something you can do with the WinMove, and you can also use the WinMove command to let me just go all the way back to where my script for WinHide and WinShow toggle was, because you can also use the WinMove to do the same. You can move the window outside of your screen. Here we go. So instead of hiding it and showing it, and the benefit of this is if you use the WinHide and WinShow, it's going to give you a bit of an animation when you try to hide it. So I don't know if you noticed, but there is a bit of an animation when you try to hide a window. I don't know how to get rid of it, but if you use the WinMove command, then you're not going to see any animations because WinMove will be instant. And so you do have to edit the script out a bit, and you're going to have to use something like WinGetPass to get the position. So let's say get the position of the active window as you identify the window A, and then that's gonna be the same. So that's gonna be the same, and let's say I'm gonna move, instead of WinHide, I'm gonna do a move of AutoHotkey ID HWND. Let's move it to outside of the window, and so that's gonna be let's say max coordinate of 0. I'm gonna move it beyond like the screen, like underneath the bottom of my screen, and that's gonna be something like a screen height plus 30, and that 30 just in case your window happens to like sit down here and that top bit of the window shows up. I'm going to add another 30 pixels, so it's going to definitely sit outside the screen. And if you put a percentage sign in front of this, then it will be converted into expression assignment, and that will work too. And toggle off is going to be the same. And before I move it, I need to know the position of the latest position, of the window. So I'm going to get that as well. I'm going to have that updated. I have that right here, but I'm going to have it updated just in case. So when you register the window, it's going to get the X pos and Y pos, but had you moved it elsewhere and you want it to be returned to this position instead of the original position, then you add that line in order to update the X pos and Y pos. And here you're going to bring it back to the X pos and Y pos. And so WinMove, AutoHotkey ID, HWND, I'll move it back to the X pos and Y pos. I'm still going to activate it just in case, because you could have a window that is, not active, that goes down and then comes back up, but because it's not active, it could sit behind my current active window. So I'm going to activate that as well, and then all the rest is the same. So if I go ahead and run it and bring up my folder, register it by pressing my hotkey once target window is set, and if I press the hotkey again, that's going to move it down somewhere underneath. You can see how the folder is still alive and well, but it's hidden somewhere. If I press it again, it brings it back like that. Off, on, off, on. I've actually got a script personally used to move the window left to the right bit by bit using the WinMove command, and I'll show you when I move this outside of my screen. If I do use that hotkey to bring it back up, you can see bit by bit the folder coming back up. But just be mindful that if you switch off the folder, you move the folder or any other window outside of the screen, and if you accidentally close it out from that state, the next time you open up the same application or folder, it's going to open up outside of your screen, and that's not what you want, because you won't be able to see it, obviously. And so you should be careful when you use this. All right, so that's a WinMove command, and I think that's it. There are going to be a few scripts that I'm going to show you later in the bonus part that will be using WinMove command a lot more, so we'll get into that in a bit more detail. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.